Welcome, my dear friends. We are Semaine. We send you the light of Sirius, that star system holding aspects of God consciousness for your planet, your solar system, and your species. May you fill up with this light so that you can radiate it outward unto all who may receive it. Good. Now, my friends, we hope you find yourselves well at this time, which is quite interesting energetically. We say this because we reside on a plane that you would consider more or less pure energy. However, this is not exactly the case, but again, this is something that you would be perceiving of us. And it is a mostly energetic plane. So when we view you, we can view you physically, but we tend to view you as energy, whether it is as an individual or as a group. And when we view you in this way, we also view you not in any given moment in time, but throughout several moments of time, large swaths of time, if you will. And so, although we see you as you are now, we also see you, or view you as it were, from the vantage point of the past, of the future, and of probable pasts and futures. And so we see this large interplay through the dimension of time. And it does take quite a bit of focus for us to perceive you in the time that you encounter us. But it can and is done. But we say this because we are viewing you from a larger picture, a larger vantage point. You, because of your sensory apparatus, tend to experience time in a more or less moment-to-moment sequential pattern. And so you live in the moment, but you are not always aware of what the next moment or moments will bring. Now, this is generally speaking. And so you may have an idea of what the future may bring. You may even think you know or have plans for the future, but you really do not experience the future until it is a part of your now present. In other words, until the sequence of moments that you experience have reached that point that you call the future, or any given point in what you call the future. And so there is a tendency among humanity to not really understand where they are going, either individually or as groups. We, however, can access that information. And so we thought today we would discuss for a moment where we see humanity in terms of their development in the future. So now, as light workers, you most likely have more awareness than those of your brethren who are not spiritually attuned. And you may also have a sense of the future direction, either intuitively or you may have learned from others what you see as the future of mankind. And although the specifics may or may not play out in the way you've heard, generally speaking, most of those who have viewed the future of mankind have gotten it right in terms of a more general direction. So this ascension process that you are undergoing now on the planet Earth involves what we call Christ consciousness energies. And a simple way to put it is an ability to align yourselves through the heart center into what we would call universal love. And so this is a love that transcends personal love. It transcends even group love or species love. It is being connected to everything, not only on your planetary system, but also outside of it. And so you are literally plugged into what we would call the underlying power of the universe. And so this involves development on the personality level, balance between the lower personality bodies, which we call the mental, emotional, and etheric bodies, and connecting them to the higher spiritual bodies. And so that would be the astral, the causal planes, and beyond. And having this connection to all will also develop certain psychic abilities that have always been present but mostly latent with mankind. And so now these abilities, such as telepathy, will be more prominent among the species. And we do refer to you many times as species, not because we ourselves are of an alien species. We are actually in spirit and connected more to our oversoul on the plane that we reside upon. We will say that when we began our incarnations into an intelligent species, it was not on the planet Earth, but on a different planet within your galaxy. However, for reasons that we will possibly go into at some point in the future, that species planet became inhabitable for them. And so from a soul level, we chose to finish up our incarnations on the planet Earth. And so we have lived several dozen lives as humans on your planet in what you would call your distant past. And so we are quite familiar with the human species as we were participating in your species. But we tend to refer to you in terms of your species because the ascension process that you are undergoing is affecting humanity primarily on this planet. There is another group of incarnate beings on your planet who are basically ensouled, and that involves the type of species that would include dolphins and whales. Not all whales, but many of them are ensouled. They too are being affected by these ascension energies, but in a different way. And so the difference between the two species and how the ascension process is affecting them is why we refer to your species in many of our talks and, of course, in our introductions and closings. And so your species is moving toward Christ consciousness in terms of your planetary and universal development. Now, what we see is that in the next century is when you will begin to see the fruits of these developments. And so there will be several generations in which you will find this development occurring. There is a generation of humans being born right now who have undergone a certain type of what you would call training on the inner planes before taking on physical bodies. And so they intuitively are prepared to handle the increased energies that are present now on the planet. And they have developed bodies, physical bodies, and mental vehicles that will allow them to take better advantage of these energies. Now, one drawback for them will be the emotional sensitivity that they have. And because the energies on the planet are in quite a flux, and as we view the future, see that fluctuating energy as being present for some time, these new humans may have a bit of trouble, particularly in their younger years, in adjusting to those fluctuations. And we're speaking of dense emotional energies that are present on the earth plane. Now, of course, this dense energy is something that cannot be escaped because much of it has been held in place on the planet for a very long time. And so, although it may not seem to be on the face of it, there is a positive aspect to these energies being released and present right now. But, of course, they can be challenging to deal with, as you all, being light workers, understand. And so these newer humans are going to be coming in with more sensitive bodies and sensitive emotional vehicles. What they will do, however, as they mature, is learn to use their highly developed mental facilities. And we're not talking about necessarily just intellectual abilities, but we are talking about mental abilities, mental powers even, if you will. They will be using this to help them maneuver through some of the denser energies on the planet. And as they do develop this ability to maneuver, they will actually be participating in transmuting in a large way these denser energies that are present. And so you can think of them in a way, as a spiritual cleanup crew for what is present now on the earth plane and that will continue to develop. Over time, the generations will be bringing through what we will call lighter bodies. Bodies that are more sensitive to light, that can certainly exist on the physical plane, but that will be better able to utilize much of the subtle light and non-physical light and energy that is going to be more and more present on the earth plane. Now, we have spoken in a previous set of talks about the thinning of the veils between the astral plane and the physical plane. And those veils will continue to thin, although we do not foresee them ever being completely removed. But part of this thinning has to do with the fact that within about 3 to 4, possibly 5 or 6 generations out, your bodies, mind, and emotions will be more attuned to the 4th dimension. And so in many ways that explains the thinning of the veils, because your species will be more or less existing between the 2 dimensions. Now, you have heard many, including ourselves, say that the end goal is to ascend to the 4th and or 5th dimensions. How this will occur generally is that it will be more, at least initially, of an attunement on a mental and emotional level with the 4th and or 5th dimensions. And over time, gradually, mankind will begin to exist more and more in these higher dimensions until at some point they will have completely ascended. There may be some humans that are left on the 3rd dimension, but they too will more or less quickly ascend. At that point, a different species on your planet will become ensouled. And they will become what will be the new ensouled species replacing mankind. Now, we cannot say at what point that will happen, but we are seeing many centuries out where this would occur. There is more to it than that, but we think you have now a good idea of how this may likely develop and play out. This is the general path that we see mankind going toward, or going down at least. Now, before we close, we do want to say that because of the way the energies of the planet are setting up, there will be a point where certain souls who incarnate as humans may find that the planet and the circumstances on it may not be useful for them in terms of the growth that they need. In other words, they may need a planet that has an ensouled species where the energies are a bit denser and more similar, rather, to what is present on the earth plane and what has been present. And so a certain level of duality may be required in terms of the experiences that they need to accumulate in order to progress. You may have heard this before as many souls leaving the earth plane school and going to attend others. What we would say, however, is to maintain a sense when you are thinking of these souls of support for them, rather than going into judgmental thoughts or even celebrating the fact that they may not be present. Yes, things will eventually get much easier on the earth plane when the souls who need to go to other physical plane schools leave. But think of it in a way as they are moving in a direction that will eventually lead them to another type of ascension planet, or a planet undergoing ascension. Because all of them do, although it is not always at the same time. And so they will be going to the particular place that will be best for them. And so send them your love and support so that they can continue their path and journey, as you all will be continuing yours on the earth plane school. And so, my friend, we thought we would give you these insights into where you are going, because we understand that many times, particularly when you are dealing with challenging events, it is helpful to be able to lift your consciousness out of the fray, at least momentarily, so that you can have a better understanding of why you are experiencing these things and where it would be living or leading you to. And this will help you immensely as you continue through your day-to-day experiences, knowing that this is leading toward a certain type of ascension that will be magnificent. And so we leave you with these words and our light and our love and that Syrian God consciousness. May you fill up with these lights so that you can radiate them outward unto all who may receive them. Good day for now, my loving friends.